If you're thinking about moving to Champaign, Illinois, you'll want to watch this. Hi, I'm Brock Collins. I'm a real estate agent here in Champaign Urbana with eXp Realty. Today I've put a video together for you to understand lots of things about our community that you will find value in. I'm going to cover a couple things. First, I'm going to cover the major roads and sections of the city. Why that's important is it can get kind of confusing depending on which side of the city you come in, which interstate you come in, and then which one to leave on if you're leaving town for a trip or just going back home if you're moving. So I'm going to cover those because that's pretty important to understand how the city's laid out and how you can use that to your advantage, all right? The next thing I'm going to cover are the best areas to live in Champaign Urbana. So the reason that's important is because I'm going to show you both. I'm going to show you Champaign. I'm going to show you Urbana. I'm also going to show you a couple of suburbs outside of the cities that you might be interested in. Now, I'm not trying to sway you or steer you in any direction. A lot of people just don't know about them, and they're highly rated as number 1 and number 2 best places to live in Champaign Urbana. So I'm going to cover those in just a little bit. And finally, I'm going to cover the 4 things you should know about Champaign area. Now, a lot of the locals might know this who've lived here forever, but if you don't live here and you haven't, you might like this information just to know what to plan for when you move to Champaign Urbana. All right? Okay, so let's jump in here. We're going to jump in. This is a map of the city of Champaign. So it's outlined here as the city of Champaign. Okay? Now, what I'm going to show you first is the layout of which highways come into town and where do they go. So let me show you this. Number 1 is Interstate 72. Now, this is the west side of Champaign, and Interstate 72, if you go west, goes all the way to Springfield, Illinois. Now, Springfield is the capital of Illinois. So if you're going to the capital city, you're going to take 72 westbound to Springfield, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes, give or take, okay? So that's Interstate 72. If you're coming eastbound, you'll see right here that it ends as it meets the west side of Champaign. So it goes away, it's all done here, okay? The second one I'm gonna show you is Interstate 74. Now again, this is all Champaign. So if you take Interstate 74 west, you're going to come across Bloomington Normal, and you'll also be able to get to Peoria, Illinois. So that's what's Interstate 74 to the west will take you. Now, if you're coming into town and you're going straight through Champaign and you come out this other side going eastbound, Interstate 74 will take you over to Indianapolis, Indiana, and you can hit the 465 if you're going a different direction there. So 74 eastbound goes to Indianapolis. The last one I want to show you is this Interstate 57. So if you take 57 north, it'll take you to Chicago, Illinois. So if you're just going to the city of Chicago for just a day trip, if you want to see a show or just getting out of town, it's about a 2.5-hour drive right to downtown Chicago, and that's how you would get there is Interstate 57. Now, finally, if you take Interstate 57 southbound and you go through town down here, Interstate 57 will take you about an hour or so. It'll take you to Effingham, Illinois. And then there's a junction shortly after that to get to St. Louis, Missouri. However, if you kept going south on Interstate 57, it's going to take you to Memphis, Tennessee. All right? So here's a map of the city of Urbana. Now, a lot of people think when they're moving to Champaign that they're moving to Champaign Urbana or they're moving to Urbana, Champaign. The cities are actually 2 separate cities. A lot of people think it's combined. But as you can see over here on the left side is Champaign. This is a separate city. Urbana is also a separate city. So just to give you an idea of size difference of the city of Champaign and the city of Urbana, the city of Champaign has a full-time population of about 90,000 people, okay? City of Urbana has a full-time population of about 40,000 people. Now, there's a catch to that, and I'm going to cover that at the end of the video that you'll want to know about if Urbana is your town. So, Champaign's a great spot to live. It's twice the size of Urbana. Urbana's a great spot to live here. About 40,000 full-time people. Also in Urbana is the University of Illinois. So that's what we're going to cover a little bit at the end of this video. Okay, so I'm going to cover that. And then so they're joining cities, sometimes referred to as sister cities or twin cities, but they are separate cities, okay? Now, I promised you earlier in the video, I'm going to show you how to get around this crazy town, okay? Lots of streets, lots of directions. Which way do we go? How do I get there? Well, one, you could use a GPS map, and maybe you do that when you move to Champaign. But I'm going to show you a short little grid, a cheat, if you will, how to navigate this city the easy way with or without a GPS. All right, so as you can see, we've got, as we talked about earlier, Interstate 74 at the top of your screen, okay? Now, as you come into Champaign, I'm going to show you, we have 3 north and south streets that start at the top of the city and go all the way south through the city, and you can get to just about any intersection from there. So let me start covering them. I'll talk the first one here is Mattis Avenue. Now, one thing you'll notice with Mattis Avenue, it's the only one that I'm going to refer to that doesn't connect to the interstate. Okay, it goes over the interstate and past north out of town. However, on the west side of town, on the west side of Champaign, if you want to go pretty much anywhere, this will take you from the top of the town to the very bottom, and then you can turn off from there. All right. The next one I want to show you is Prospect Avenue. This street right here is pretty much the lifeblood to get you through Champaign Urbana wherever you're going. Now, as you'll see here, most people actually, if you're coming from the west or if you're coming from the east or the west, this exit is called Prospect Exit or Prospect Avenue. And you'll typically get off here and start going south to get into the city, okay? Now, when you do that, this will take you to just about anywhere you want to go, mostly the main streets. So if you want to go somewhere main from the south of town to the very north of town, chances are you're going to become friends with Prospect Avenue, okay? Now, the last one I want to show you is Neal Street. Now, Neal Street also has an exit right here off 74, so you can also come into town when you're moving to Champaign or just coming back into Champaign to live here. Neal Street is a pretty busy street. Now, what happens here is a lot of people, if you're coming to a ball game or that kind of thing and you're not familiar with the area, a lot of people get off here on Neal Street. The reason they do that is because the signs tell you to. What I'll tell you is Neal Street comes down and then just about a couple miles as you're on it, takes you to downtown. Downtown Champaign has 2 little streets. All right, it's very tight traffic, especially when you're trying to get 60,000 plus fans into a ball game and you got this 2 little thing going downtown with very slow traffic. So this would not be your friend on traffic day, okay? So Neal Street, though, from the very north of town, goes all the way south to the farthest south of town. It'll go through downtown Champaign, the old downtown, and also all the way through the town, kind of down the center, just a little bit back to the east, okay? Now let's talk about some of the east-west streets. I'm gonna cover 2 because they're really the 2 main ones that'll take you from one side of the city to the other. Springfield Avenue is the first one I want to highlight. And again, as you can see, these intersect here. So if you get off on the interstate on Prospect Avenue and want to come to the east side of Champaign, you're just going to turn left on Springfield Avenue. Takes you just about anywhere on the east and west side of Champaign. Now, what I would say would be the main street that would take you, if you're right in the heart or a little bit south of town here, in the southern part of the town, Kirby Avenue is your other street that you'll want to become friends with. Again, all of these intersect, so you can take one of these main north-south streets and hit one of these Springfield Avenue or Kirby, one of these east-west streets. It'll take you just about anywhere you want to go. So this is my secret grid that I share with people when they're moving to Champaign, so they understand a simplicity or a simple layout of how to get around the town, okay? All right, number 2, we're going to talk about the best areas to live in Champaign Urbana, Illinois. Why is that important? Well, we've covered the city of Champaign, about 90,000 people. We've covered the city of Urbana, about 40,000 people. Now, both big cities. But you might be saying, Brock, when I moved to Champaign, I'd really like a little bit more of a smaller town. I don't want to be in a bigger town. Okay? Well, we'll talk about it. So what I want you to see here, I've zoomed in this map a little bit. This is the city of Champaign zoomed in. All right? Now, the city I'm going to talk about next is a small city right here called Savoy. As you can see, they're really close to each other. They almost basically touch, similar to Champaign Urbana, but Savoy is a very smaller community. And I'm going to go into a little bit of details on this on the next video. So as you can see, they're really close. From Champaign to Savoy, max 10 minutes, probably a little bit less. All right. So Savoy, Illinois was rated the #1 best place to live in Champaign County by niche.com. Now, as you can see this layout here, it's a small and quaint community. However, you've got a lot of the good stuff. And the good stuff, I mean, you've got your grocery stores, you've got some shopping, you've got restaurants, all that good stuff just down the street. So it's a pretty nice little suburb of Champaign Urbana. Here's one thing I need you to be aware of though. If you have kids in schools, the city of Savoy does not have a public school system. So if you have children in school, your kids will actually go to Champaign public schools if you're in the public school system. So that's one thing to know about Savoy. Amazing community, no schools, you'll have to go to Champaign, okay? All right, now, one other city I wanna highlight here. Well, let me show you, let me take you right back to where we started. This is the city of Champaign, here's Urbana. Now, I'm gonna highlight this town right here called Mahomet, Illinois. A lot of people mispronounce it, it's okay. Still the same place no matter what you call it, right? All right, so Mahomet, Illinois. To get there from Champaign, it's about a 10 to 15 minute drive on the west side if you go west, okay? So here's the map of the city of, and the village of Mahomet, Illinois. Niche.com rated the village of Mahomet the #2 best places to live in Champaign County. So if you're looking for a smaller community, you don't want to live in a bigger city, these are two options that have been highly rated on niche.com. So we've got Champaign, we've got Urbana, we've got Savoy, we've got Mahomet. There's even others, even smaller communities, which I'm going to go into on another video, just so you're aware of them and know where they lay and where they are on the city map, okay? All right, so now we're going to talk about the 4 things that you should know about Champaign Urbana. All right, this is going to seem weird depending on where you're moving from, but we have a lot of cornfields, lots of crops. They're everywhere, okay? So on the outskirts of town, it won't take but a couple minutes to get to them. You're going to see cornfields, bean fields, wheat fields, maybe winter wheat, all kinds of different farming. And in the fall when they're doing their harvest, it's not uncommon to get behind farm equipment or a big tractor. So if you're in a hurry, you might want to plan your trips and your travel not to be on these outskirt roads, because chances are you could get behind a big line of traffic. All right? The second thing I want to tell you about is it's cold here. And in the wintertime, it's doggone frigid. So if you're coming from the south, I would suggest you wear or buy a lot of warm clothes. So sometimes in the wintertime here, skies get gray for a couple months. And also, there's times that we get a ton of snow. So, wouldn't hurt if you're moving to Champaign Urbana into this area, when you get to town, even if it's summertime, go ahead and pick you up a shovel and just have it handy if you need it. All right? Now, the third thing I want to share with you about the things you should know about the Champaign Urbana area is I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier about the city of Urbana. So remember, I told you that Champaign, the city of Champaign, has a population of about 90 full-time residents, okay? Now, the city of Urbana has about 40,000 residents, but there's a catch. Remember I told you the city of Urbana is where the University of Illinois is, right? Now, when school comes in session, there's about 50,000 students that attend the University of Illinois. So, in the fall, when the students come back, things can get a little congested for a while. And what I mean by that is there is a lot of movement, a lot of hustle, a lot of shopping. If you're going to your regular grocery store that you typically go to and just have basic lines, you'll have monster lines when the students come back. And the students come back and they shop really hard for about the first month, and then it kind of settles down as everyone gets into their routine. So it's one thing to be aware of when students come back from the University of Illinois, okay? Now, the last thing I want you to know about Champaign Urbana is this is a tailgating town, all right? So the University of Illinois has a premier football team. Now we've got a premier football coach, and they're in the running for some big stuff. Win or lose, Champaign Urbana loves to go to the football games. More importantly, the one unique thing that Champaign and Urbana have for the football stadium, for the Fighting Illini, is that the tailgate areas are right outside the door, right outside the gates of the football stadium. And it's very unique because many football stadiums that I've been to, some of them have the tailgating spread all over campus, right? And some of them is quite a ways down from the stadium, and then you got to finally make your way in for the game. The cool thing about tailgating and socializing with your friends and family for a football game here in Champaign Urbana is that it's right outside the door. I mean, you can walk 25, 30 steps and you can jump right into the ball game, or just go back out to your vehicle and your tent if you're tailgating. So that's the cool thing that I really like about Champaign Urbana. Thank you for watching this video about moving to Champaign Urbana. I hope you found a ton of value as you're thinking about making this move to the Champaign area. So if you're thinking about buying a home and you need help or you have real estate questions, let me know how I can help you best. I've been a local real estate professional for the last 24 years right here in Champaign Urbana. I also have access to off-market properties that have not yet come to the public market. So I'm happy to share that with you as well. Now, if you're local and you're thinking about selling a home in the Champaign Urbana area, feel free to reach out. It would be my pleasure to be your real estate agent and to help you get your home sold really fast and to simplify the process for you. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the very next video.